January 28th meeting of the Albany Utility Board to order. If we could call the roll. Dr. Adams?
Present.
Ms. Battle?
She's muted.
Mr. Deal?
Present.
Mr. Logue?
Here.
First item on the agenda, does anyone have any opening remarks? Dr. Adams?
None.
Ms. Battle?
None.
Mr. Deal?
Mayor, I was sorry to hear about the death of your father and wanted you to know that.
I appreciate the sympathies have been expressed. It's a different thing when it's somebody in your family you're dealing with, but I do appreciate it. Mr. Logue?
I just want to wish everybody a happy new year and also echo Jim's sentiments. We were very saddened to hear it about your father.
The next item, I assume everyone has the minutes from the last meeting were rather lengthy. If
Yes.
everyone had an opportunity to review the minutes and note any errors or omissions. Does anybody have any questions or concerns about the minutes as presented?
I think Vernesta covered them very well, considering the length of them.
If not, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Dr. Adams?
None.
Battle?
None.
Mr. Deal?
None.
Oh.
None.
Okay, we could call the roll. Dr. Adams?
Present.
No, I'm sorry. We're voting on the minutes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Ms. Battle?
Yes.
Mr. Deal?
Yes.
Slow?
Yes.
Vote yes. The next item on the agenda is right-of-way ECG piggyback, and that's on. Consider for approval the execution of a one-year contract with W&A Kendall and Company, Inc. and Trees Unlimited to provide right-of-way tree trimming services to the Utilities Department for an estimated expenditure of $776,000. Ms. Fields and Ms. Norman, you with us, Ms. Fields?
Yes, sir, I am. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This would be a one-year contract. We're piggybacking off of the ECG. They did the bid, and we're allowed to use the bid that they used. And this budget of $776,000 is the budget that that the Utilities Department has for right-of-way tree trimming services. So we are proposing to enter into two contracts, one with W.A. Kendall and one with Trees Unlimited, and we will use them interchangeably to get our right-of-way tree trimming services completed.
Thank you, Ms. Battle. Mr. Norman, do you have anything to add?
Yes, sir, Mayor. Thank you. This, just want to mention that this is specifically for power line clearance trimming. We've been using this bid and working off of it since 2008. We have to renew it annually, but we do utilize both companies.
Okay.
I'll entertain any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Norman. Any questions for Ms. Fields or Mr. Norman? Dr. Adams?
Yes, I do have a question. This seems to be not quite just south of $1 million per year. My question would be, is it more economical to lease this out to be done than to have the city to invest in personnel to do this on an annual basis?
This is what this is for. We will be contracting with W.A. Kendall and Trees Unlimited, which is two different right-of-way crews that do this professionally. The reason we use the ECG bid is because when ECG puts it out, they put it out for all electric cities, and therefore for economies of scale, we get a better rate. And we have about 700 miles of overhead line that we have to keep, that we have to maintain.
Excuse me, Mr. Norman. I think Dr. Adams was basically saying if we ever looked at to see whether or not we could do it in-house for roughly the same cost or less. Is that correct, Dr. Adams?
That's correct.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood the question. We have in the past tried to do it in-house, and with the equipment cost and the labor cost, there's no way we could do it even close to what it costs to contract out.
Hello?
Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Ms. Battle, any questions for Ms. Field or Mr. Norman?
No, no.
Mr. Deal?
No, it's expensive, but it's a necessity.
Mr. Loeb?
No question.
Okay. With that, any discussion? Dr. Adams? Dr. Adams, any discussion?
No, none.
Ms. Battle?
None.
Mr. Deal?
None.
Mr. Loeb?
None.
I would just ask if we have the numbers, Mr. Norman, could we just, the last time y'all run them on what it would cost to do it in-house, of course, I mean, I think that in this $776,000, part of that's paying for these folks' equipment, and you amortize it over time. I mean, it might be somewhat misleading if you have to buy $800,000 equipment the first year and pay the labor. But if the last time y'all run those numbers, would you see if you could pull that and just provide it to Ms. Williams and she can circulate it to the board?
Yes, sir. We'll run the numbers. It's been quite a few years since we've done it, but we'll run it on current prices to date.
I appreciate it, Mr. Norman. Okay. With that, we'll call the question. Dr. Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Battle?
Yes.
Mr. Deal?
Mayor, I don't think we've had a motion, have we?
Yeah, I don't believe we have either.
I'm sorry. I apologize. I apologize.
That's fine.
We should have had the motion before we had the discussion.
I
The chair will
move for,
entertain.
yeah, I move for approval.
I'm sorry. Is there a second?
Second?
Okay. Any discussion? I've already called
No.
that, so, okay. If we could call for the roll call vote, Dr. Adams,
Yes.
Ms. Battle,
Yes.
Mr. Deal,
Yes.
Mr. Loeb,
Yes.
chair votes yes. I'm sorry about that. The next item on the agenda is we'll be getting an update on the milestone, the customer portal, and the I think Mr. Carter is going to make that presentation. You with us, Mr. Carter?
I am, sir.
Morning. You have the floor.
Morning, Chairman and Utility Board and City Manager. It's been a while since we've had an update on where we are with that customer portal, and because it directly affects this group, we want to bring back to you where we are with it and give you an idea of what the actual functionality of it is going to be. The last presentation was just some static pictures, but this time we do have a demo of the website that I'd like to bring to you. So give me just a moment here to share that portion of my screen with you, and we will get started. All right, the portal is the image that you're looking at on your screen right now. It is, again, based on the design of our current website, so it should have a similar look and feel. Some features that I'd like to point out to you right away is that you have the ability to register, select your own username, whatever username you prefer, and register on this website so that you can become a recurring member instead of just going through and paying as a guest. Although you can pay as a guest, if you choose not to register, it will tell you where you can find this information on your bill for your customer account number and zip code. However, if you don't have that customer account number and zip code, we're trying to make it easier for those people who can't find those account numbers or away from their bill and still want to pay. All you need to have is the phone number and the house number that's associated with that account. So we're hoping that through one of those two processes, the individual can either register or pay as a guest. And as I go through this, if you have any questions about anything that you're seeing, please feel free to stop me and ask. I have a fictitious account set up so we don't disclose any personal information about anybody over this public forum. So we're going to log in with this fictitious account and show you some of the functionality of the process. Hold on just a second. That was a bad password that I used, so that's why you're giving it this warning. It's a pretty simple password. So if you do use a simple password, you get a warning like this from your web browser. But this is the landing page for the website. As you can see, it has some general information about the account and some graphs at the bottom that will provide historical data, a virtual look at some historical data about the services that is associated with that account. It tells you what your payment is, what your past due amount is, what the current charges, total amount due. Naturally, one of the most prominent things here is we want them to be able to make a payment. Since this is a fictitious account, we don't have that information set up, nor do we have a current bill. But if you are a regular customer, you can click that view current bill, and you'll see a representation of your last utility bill that was mailed to you. You also have the ability to look at past bills also. I'm sorry, what's that question? Okay. Also, in this account area, you have the ability to add multiple accounts to your login. So if you're responsible for paying your bill, maybe your mother's bill or your children's bill or somebody else, whomever has given you the authority or you want to make their payments for them, you have the ability to add that same information. Again, you need some information from that bill so that you can add that account to the ones that will show up here. In the event that you do decide that you're going to add a second account, once you've added that account, all you need to do is switch to that account at any point. This is the default account that is set up on this particular login. But we've set up a separate account here also, just so we can demonstrate the functionality of switching from one account to another. So that same login, you can see multiple accounts through that same login process. You don't have to log out and log back in as someone else. All you need to do is add those other accounts and you can add as many as you choose so that you can have access to that information. This particular account has electric, gas, and water. So you get those same type of graphical displays for those other services. Again, we want to be able to make a payment, view current bill, billing history, and service history also. Now, a couple of things that makes this site a little bit more unique than the ones that we've used previously is we've tried to build in some more functionality that allows our customers to do more of those things that we would anticipate they would want without pick the phone up and call it. One of those things is to register for a paperless billing. At any point that you decide you want to opt in or opt out of paperless billing, you can select that process just through our website. The other thing that I think is pretty cool for us is we've added these moving services. The first one is starter service. If you are a current customer and you want to start a new service someplace else, you can go into this website and give us the information and the start date that you want to move. Naturally, this goes to one of our customer service agents. Once you filled out this information, they will evaluate the information that you've placed. If there's questions or anything that needs to be answered, they get back in touch with you. But be the process that you would use to initiate a move. Same thing with stopping a service. If you're one of our customers and you can stop that service, you have the opportunity to do the same thing. Naturally, again, this goes to one of our customer service representatives, and they will evaluate what you've placed into this form and call you if there's other information necessary. And the final piece is a transfer of service. This will allow you to stop your existing service at one location and move that service to a different location. Again, right today, the only way to have these three things done is to call our customer service agents. However, the goal in the future is to move those services online and allow our customers to become more self-sufficient, as well as decrease some of the call volume that we have into our call center. Any questions about anything I've talked about so far? The final piece that I'd like to talk to you about is really the customer support piece. What this does is allow our customers to make requests about pretty much anything, pretty much kind of like the 311 process. If you want to use it to contact us about any of the services that we offer, we want to try and keep it contained to what's really utility billing and customer service. So we've listed a few things, but we do have an other there. So if there's something outside of the list that we provided, but this allows our customers to make contact with us, and that will go to one of our customer service representatives. They will evaluate again the request that's being made, and then reach back out to the customer or reply. It just depends on which way that they choose to provide that information. And also, you'll see that they're able to attach documents down here. So if there's something that they need to send to us, if they want us to evaluate a bill or evaluate something else that some other issue that they may be having, they're able to send that to us without having or whatever the case may be. But that gives them an opportunity to take a look at or correspond with us, again, without having to pick the phone up and wait through the whole times of our busy customer service center now. That is pretty much it in a nutshell. I know I covered it pretty quickly, but I just wanted to give you an idea of what it looks like as we are building this out. And at this time, I entertain any questions that you may have concerning that process.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. Dr. Adams, any questions for Mr. Carter?
Yes, I have a question and maybe more of a concern also. A large portion of our customers are not technologically up to date as some of us may be. Now, my question would be, do we have any type program that we can try to bring these people up to speed so they can benefit from these new services that we have? How do we handle that group of customers?
Well, we realize that anything that we stand up is never going to reach 100% of our customer base. So we're looking at for incremental movement. And one of the things that we do with any of the processes that we roll out is we do a customer awareness and education campaign where we use our media outlets and our Facebook page, our website, and some how-to videos and all those kind of things to try and get our customer base to be aware of and utilize some of our new services. Now, we do realize again, a lot of people won't or can't participate in that. So our call center will always be available, and we'll still continue to have that call center. And we hope that as we're doing this, we can instruct some of those people that are calling our call center about some of these other services as an alternative to making that phone call. But we do realize that though we do have a portion of our customer base that cannot or will not use the service, and we'll still provide services to them in other means.
Great. Now, is it plausible to have a kind of an off-site type place where they can have access to a computer? So those who don't have computers at home could have access.
I think that's probably something that we can take a look at. I do know that most of our library services around the city do have computers that are available. This isn't anything special; just a website that you can go to. So if you visit one of those computing sites that already have a bank of computers available, you can still participate in the process. But we can look at maybe standing up some computers around the city and some of our other facilities that may benefit or help those that don't have access.
Thank you, Mr. Carter.
You're welcome, sir.
Ms. Battle, any questions for Mr. Carter?
No, I'm just excited about it. It looks great. No questions.
Mr. Deal?
No, it looks good though.
Slow?
It does look good, and I'm excited about this too, Mr. Carter. What's the anticipated rollout? Have you come up with a preliminary timeline?
Yes, sir. I like to say we've stumbled a couple times as we've tried to bring this forward. Not so much on the customer portal side, but on the Munis and the database data convergence piece of it. So I would prefer just to say that we're really very close. We still have a couple of data issues that we have to work through. But I can say that you should start seeing our public awareness campaign within the next 30 days, starting to make our customers and our public aware of where we are and when we intend to have a full hard launch.
Very good. Thank you.
You're very welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Carter, for that informative presentation. The next item is a report from the independent engineering firm that reviewed the recommendations of Constantine Engineering. And we have several people, I think Mr. Stock, Mr. Maples, Mr. Hughes, and maybe even, is Dr. Threadcraft with us?
Yes, sir, I am.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, who will take the lead on this presentation?
Good morning, Mayor. This is Mr. Stock. I'm going to start off with the introduction, and then I'll turn it over to Dr. Threadcraft. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
For the past few years, the city has been studying and evaluating strategies and methods to reduce and, if possible, eliminate the combined sewer system through separation of the portions of the system still currently combined. At the fall 2020 retreat, the City Commission staff presented the engineering study along with modified recommendations that offered significant savings, and the Commission requested that a third-party engineering firm evaluate those findings. So staff went through the RFP request for proposal process, engineering to perform the analysis, and as we've kind of highlighted, Dr. Threadcraft with TEI is here today to present their findings of the analysis and share with us that. So with that, sir, I will turn it over to Dr. Threadcraft for the presentation.
Thank you. Good morning.
Morning.
As indicated, my name is Dr. Joseph Threadcraft. This presentation is titled Engineering Review of CSO and Localized Flooding. It was prepared collaboratively with my mentor, Richard Marbury. As background, I earned my PhD in construction management from Indiana State University and my master's in civil engineering with an emphasis in water resources from Norwich University in Northfield, Vermont. I am a licensed professional engineer in the state of Georgia. Richard Marbury earned his civil engineering degree and master's in planning from Georgia Tech University. Richie is a licensed professional engineer and professional land surveyor in Georgia. In addition to that, Richie is a lifelong resident of Albany and owner of Marbury Engineering. Slide 2, please. The presentation will focus on a broad overview of TEI's evaluation of the Constantine Engineering Report and city staff's proposal to resolve the City of Albany's CSO and localized flooding concerns. The presentation will further review the city's 2 national pollutant discharge elimination system permits. These are often referred to as NPDES permits. Towards the end of the presentation, we will offer a professional opinion and identify some broad-based alternatives for further consideration. The content of this presentation will provide the listeners with an opportunity to better understand the City of Albany's permitted wastewater treatment system, how it currently operates, and the subsequent need for mandated improvements. Ultimately, this presentation will provide the City of Albany's leadership with sufficient information to make informed decisions related to the combined sewer overflow and localized flooding initiatives. Slide 3, please. This slide provides an overview of 2 ways to collect and transport sanitary and storm sewers. Historically, communities used combined systems to reduce costs. The cost savings allowed them to expand the municipality's footprint. A combined sewer is a system where the stormwater and sanitary sewer are transported in the same pipe. This results in a requirement to treat the combined sewer in advance of discharging it. The second method of transporting sanitary and storm sewer is through a separate system. Urban municipalities such as the City of Albany are required to have municipal separate storm sewer systems. This ensures that the sanitary and stormwater are transported in separate pipes. Slide 4, please. Across the nation, the discharge of untreated combined sewer overflow has negatively impacted the receiving waters, such as lakes, rivers, and streams. This resulted in their inability to meet their intended purpose. For example, the intended purpose of the Flint River along the City of Albany's border is fishing. To improve the quality of the receiving waters, federal and state agencies developed a regulatory compliance process. This process is managed through the issuance of permits. The Georgia Environmental Protection Division has issued 2 permits to the City of Albany. The Albany Combined Sewer System regulates 8 discharge points, which consist of 7 basins. The Joshua Street Water Pollution Control Plant regulates the operations of the Joshua Street Water Pollution Control Facility. Ultimately, the guidelines contained in the permits will ensure that the water bodies meet their intended purpose. Slide 5, please. The Constantine Engineering final report was developed to establish a comprehensive overview of and an ultimate solution to the City of Albany's combined sewer overflow system and localized flooding concerns within these areas. There were 2 items of note as it relates to Constantine's scope. Their approach was independent of cost. And with that, they developed a solution to capture 100% of the combined sewer overflow. They also evaluated opportunities to reduce localized flooding within the CSO areas. Slide 6, please. The Constantine Engineering Report identified 7 major components, again, independent of cost, that would be needed to eliminate all CSOs. The estimated cost of these components is approximately $315 million over a 30-year period. Their findings were developed before the final permit was issued. The Constantine report contains two specific initiatives that exceed the approved permit requirements. The first is a proposed expansion of the Joshua Street Water Pollution Control Plant. The second is to achieve a 100% capture rate instead of the permit required 85% capture rate. Slide 7, please. This is component 1, which consists of a new CSO Treatment Facility. This component has an estimated cost of $31.4 million and consists of the construction of a new combined sewer overflow treatment facility, a 60-inch diameter force main, and a new lift station. Since most of the flow will consist of stormwater, Constantine recommended establishing the minimum primary treatment standards. These minimum standards consist of screening and disinfecting the sewer before it's discharged to the Flint River. Slide 8, please. The Joshua Street Wastewater Pollution Control Plant. This component has an estimated cost of $57 million and consists primarily of upgrading aged equipment and improving the processes used to treat wastewater. For example, rotary drum thickeners are used to remove excess moisture from the sludge. New thickeners will reduce hauling and disposal costs. New clarifiers will increase the efficiency in which additional solids are removed from the wastewater. Slide 9, please. This is component 3. Component 3 is the phase 2 expansion of the Joshua Street Wastewater Pollution Control Plant. It has an estimated cost of $3.3 million. The purpose of this project was to prepare for future plant expansions to accommodate population growth in Albany. Based on the current growth trends, it's not anticipated that this phase will be needed within the next 20 years. So it will be beyond the study cycle for this report. Some examples of work contained in this project include a new pump station to move treated wastewater out of the facility and to the discharge point. There's also an opportunity to add additional primary and secondary clarifiers. And as noted earlier, clarifiers provide an opportunity to remove additional solids from the wastewater. Slide 10, please. This is component 4, and it consists of lift station improvements and upgrades. Component 4 has an estimated cost of approximately $15 million and was developed based on allocating $500,000 a year over a 30-year period to cover routine maintenance and facility upgrades. Spills can be prevented by installing new pumps and valves. The city can also benefit from upgrading its remote sensing equipment to ensure that they are notified in the event of an equipment malfunction. Slide 11, please. This is component 5, combined sewer overflow separation. Component 5 has an estimated cost of $136 million. This approach would complete 100% separation in all combined sewer overflow basins. Typical work includes installing additional pipes and manholes so that the stormwater and sanitary sewer can be completely separated. In addition to that, specific stormwater projects will be built to reduce the amount of time that water ponds in the streets. This is referred to as increasing the level of service, and later in the presentation, I will outline some existing projects that city staff has that are currently ready to advance this initiative. Slide 12, please. This is component 6, reducing inflow and infiltration. Component 6 has an estimated cost of $7 million. Inflow and infiltration describe ways that wastewater enters the sanitary sewer system. Groundwater enters through infiltration, and that infiltration occurs along cracks and broken sections of pipe. Stormwater can flow into the sanitary sewer system from roof drains and curb inlets. Inflow and infiltration can be reduced by lining existing pipes and repairing damaged manholes and sewer taps. Slide 13, please. This is component 7, annual rehabilitation. Component 7 has an estimated cost of approximately $62 million and consists of a rehab program to repair damaged piping systems. Some methods of repair can consist of a point repair. In this particular photograph, that pipe is damaged beyond the ability to line it, so an excavation project will have to take place to replace that damaged pipe. There's also a method called pipe bursting. Pipe bursting is a process of pulling a replacement pipe through an existing pipe. And there is some opportunity to upsize that pipe, but the ability to upsize it significantly does not exist. But there can be some increase in flow. Slide 14, please. This is Constantine's cost summary. Constantine's 10-year capital improvement forecast is approximately $135 million. The 30-year forecast is approximately $315 million. Slide 15, please. In addition, we evaluated the City of Albany staff proposal. City staff goals are outlined as follows. A, they want to achieve a combined sewer overflow separation of at least 85%. So they want to exceed the permit requirements. Item B, they want to advance design projects that reduce localized flooding within the 7 combined sewer overflow basins. And as indicated earlier, staff currently has some projects on the shelf. Item C, they want to develop initiatives that will upgrade and maintain sustainable systems. In this particular slide, this is an example of a sustainable City of Albany project from the flood of 1998. It is along the 700 block of Johnny W. Williams Road, which was formerly Henderson Road. The repair project included lining, pipe bursting, and open trench pipe replacement. And those are some of the relevant examples shown to you earlier. Also, I alluded to the fact that city staff has advanced the design of some stormwater projects. The relevant examples would be the Beatty Woods Pond, Shannon Holding Pond, East Broad Separation, the Clark Avenue Project, Oaks Pond Diversion, Camp Lane, Baldwin Drive, and Greenville Road. Slide 16, please. The City of Albany staff proposal consists of a 10-year, $105 million project. Staff's proposal saves $30 million over the recommendation put forth by Constantine Engineering. City staff indicated that they can achieve permit compliance without the following Constantine Engineering recommendations. The first is the $31.4 million combined sewer overflow treatment facility. Some major items contained in that would be a 60-inch force main, a chlorine contact basin, and a new wastewater lift station. Beyond that, staff can achieve their permit requirements without the expansion of the Joshua Street Water Pollution Control Plant. And that is a savings of approximately $3.3 million. Slide 17, please. The final combined sewer National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System permit. This is a permit for the combined sewer system. It's valid from October 1, 2020 through September 30, 2025. The City of Albany must comply with conditions outlined in the permit by June 30, 2025. The most significant requirement noted in the permit is a minimum percent capture rate of 85%. The previous requirement involved all flow to the plant except when rainfall exceeded 0.19 inches per hour. Then the requirement was just to capture as much as possible. So this is a significant change and one that the City of Albany is positioned to be responsive to. There are 7 combined sewer overflow basins and a total of 8 discharge points. The major discharge point is at the combined sewage control facility. The 7 minor points consist of lift station 27, lift station 25, Whitney Avenue, Highland Avenue, Booker Avenue, 3rd Avenue, and 8th Avenue. Slide 18, please. The final Joshua Street Water Pollution Control Plant permit. This permit is also valid from October 1st, 2020 through September 30th, 2025, and allows the discharge an average of 32 million gallons per day. There were no significant changes to the permit, and the City of Albany's plant can meet all permit requirements. Slide 19, please. Professional opinion. The City of Albany established the following performance criteria for evaluating the Constantine engineering report and the city staff proposal. Criteria A was that each document would need to provide a comprehensive solution to localized flooding. Criteria B is each document would need to put forth concepts that would eliminate combined sewer overflows to the Flint River. Criteria C is each document would evaluate the long-term viability of the City of Albany's existing infrastructure. Each document must put forth solutions that can achieve permit compliance within 5 years and at a cost of approximately $100 million. Slide 20, please. An overview of the performance requirements indicates that Constantine and city staff partially met the requirement to solve localized flooding. And the reason for ranking that as partial is because each report proposed to achieve permit compliance primarily through separation. And separation is the most expensive approach. As it relates to CSO elimination, both reports fully comply with that criteria. As it relates to an evaluation of the existing infrastructure, both reports fully comply with that criteria. And the final constraint was permit compliance within 5 years and at a cost of approximately $100 million. Due to the cost of the Constantine recommendations, they only partially met that criteria. City staff's proposal fully met that criteria. Slide 21, please. Professional opinion summary. The Constantine engineering report and city staff proposal are sufficient to meet the requirements of both NPDES system permits. TEI agrees with city staff's proposal. However, we recommend evaluating broad-based cost-saving alternatives as time and schedule allows. Slide 22, please. City staff is actively engaged with permit compliance initiatives. Some relevant examples of their work includes the fact that they have completed and submitted the characterization monitoring plan. Staff has installed a characterization monitoring plan equipment. Staff began the monitoring process on January 1st, 2021. Staff is finalizing specific designs to resolve localized flooding. The city has made specific lift station repairs and continues to evaluate opportunities to implement additional upgrades. As you can see, permit compliance requires a concerted effort, and there are some items that the City of Albany has completed. You'll note that the remaining items, such as the characterization monitoring, will be ongoing. There will be various reports that staff will have to submit on 6-month increments. Staff will have to also develop and submit and receive approval of a long-term control plan. And by June 30th, 2025, staff will have to submit a letter to EPD confirming that they've complied with all of the stipulations outlined in the permit. Slide 23, please. We evaluated some broad-based alternatives, but first and foremost, we note that the best opportunity to successfully implement value engineering, cost-saving alternatives is at the beginning or planning phase of the process. We have noted that city staff have completed some relevant designs, and in some instances, they have completed the construction phase. Our recommendation to explore collaborative cost-saving approaches is because sewer separation is the most expensive method of eliminating combined sewer overflows. TEI evaluated the Constantine engineering report and the city staff proposal relative to environmental protection agencies' 9 minimum controls for the correction of combined sewer overflows. And just briefly, an overview of those 9 minimum controls will be familiar to you because you will have had an opportunity to experience them. For example, proper operation and regular maintenance programs. Number 2, maximization of storage in the collection system. Number 3, review and modification of pre-treatment requirements. Number 4, maximization of flow to the public-owned treatment works. And in this case, it's the Joshua Street Wastewater Pollution Control Plant. Item 5, elimination of CSOs during dry weather. Item 6, control of solid and floatable materials in combined sewer overflow. Number 7, pollution prevention programs to reduce the contaminants contained in CSOs. Item 8, public notification. Item 9 is monitoring the CSO impacts to ultimately determine the effectiveness of your program. Slide 24, please. This slide provides an overview of inline retention. This approach will maximize storage by adjusting overflow structures so that the city of Albany could take advantage of the system capacity to store combined sewer overflows, thereby reducing the volume of untreated CSO discharges. Slide 25, please. Offline retention. Tunnel is an example of offline retention. These devices provide additional system capacity that can be used to reduce combined sewer overflows. This photograph was taken inside the city of Atlanta's South River Tunnel project. This was a $110 million project that was part of the city's response to its consent decree. The tunnel is approximately 9,000 feet long, 14 feet in diameter, and connects to a 45 million gallon per day pump station. In addition to the city of Atlanta, this approach is also used by various cities across the United States. Some examples will be Elizabeth, New Jersey, Grand Rapids, Michigan, and San Francisco, California. Slide 26. Green infrastructure. Green infrastructure is a resilient approach that emphasizes building with nature. An example is the Fourth Ward Park in the city of Atlanta. This project provides recreational access while also providing flood control during sustained rain events. This approach results in surge capacity that reduces the impact to the drainage system in terms of the volume of water that must be handled in a specific amount of time. Slide 27, please. This is an example of green infrastructure within the city of Albany. Albany State University's practice field is a local example. This practice field is available to temporarily detain water during heavy rain events and thereby provides surge capacity. This particular project was designed by Richard Marbury. Slide 28, please. Another example of green infrastructure, the Mary Young Cummings Park on South Monroe Street. This is a local example. This area was damaged during the flood of 1994. It was rebuilt through the implementation of various design initiatives, such as open space acquisition and the implementation of improved stormwater control measures. This pond serves as an aesthetic addition to the neighborhood, as well as a flood control structure that adds system capacity for managing stormwater runoff. If you notice in the photo, there are actually two ponds. The smaller ponds receive the first inch or so of runoff, That's referred to as first flush. And the significance of that is that that's where most of the pollutants are contained. This smaller pond allows those pollutants to settle out and not be discharged directly into the primary pond area. Slide 29, please. Property acquisition. This is an example of green space acquisition by the City of Albany, Dougherty County, and the Southwest Georgia Regional Commission. Green space properties must remain as open space, such as parks and/or retention for permanent storage or detention for temporary storage areas. Slide 30, please. Some of the analysis emphasize transporting stormwater through a closed system of pipes and box covers. There's also an opportunity to manage stormwater flow through open channels. The City of Albany uses open channel flow within its municipal city limits. This photograph contains an example of a series of retention ponds and drainage canals along northwest of a boulevard. And this is just north of Westgate Drive. As indicated earlier, it is more economical to transport stormwater through open channel flow than through pipes or box covers. Slide 31, please. This is another example of open channel flow within municipal city limits. In this particular instance, this is Raleigh, North Carolina. The project is incorporated aesthetically into the neighborhood using retaining wall block, bridges, sidewalks, and handrails. Slide 32, please. This slide is an example of some potential estimated cost savings. As noted, cost saving range from 37.5% up to approximately 85% of the project cost, depending upon the initiative and at what phase of the project that initiative was implemented. Slide 33. Funding alternatives. We've indicated that there are some alternatives to increase the contribution of grants, which will ultimately offset the City of Albany's costs. I can say that the City of Albany is actively engaged in this process. They actually have a proposal out for engineering services for HUD's Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Initiative. And that project is to make sanitary and stormwater improvements in the 8th Avenue Basin. Slide 34, please. Mr. Mayor, that concludes my presentation. And at this time, we're into open discussion.
Thank you, Dr. Threadcraft. Did anyone else intend to make a presentation? Mr. Hughes or Mr. Maples, y'all just here to answer questions. Okay, good news. Thank you, Dr. Threadcraft. I understand more about this project now than I did having sat through the presentations from Constantine. But any questions for Dr. Threadcraft or any of these other gentlemen? Dr. Adams.
Yes, I do. I have a few questions. First of all, I'd like to take the personal privilege of asking Dr. Threadcraft, is he familiar with Mr. Tommy Threadcraft and Geneva Threadcraft in this area?
Yes, sir. Those are my aunts and uncles, my father's brothers and sisters.
Well, I have a dog. Well, those are people I know very well and have had the privilege of delivering kids and their family. Now, my questions would be, what percentage of local employees that you all intend to use, or has that been determined at this point? And the other question, the source of funding, I think you alluded to that. And as the Mayor Dura may remember, when we were both down at the city leadership, I think that, if I recall correctly, we suggested that 80% of the SPLOSH funds go towards infrastructure. I don't know how much that would help, but I think that we need to look at not so much of the beautifications of things above ground, but to take care of things that are underground that are not seen, because this is the only way the city is going to continue to attract major businesses. And I think I'll stop there and give somebody else an opportunity to ask questions. It was an excellent presentation, and I, like the mayor, I figure that I have learned a lot this morning, and I might even seek an engineering degree. Thank you.
Ms. Battle, any questions?
Mayor, can I weigh in on the answers to those questions?
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, everybody. This is Sharon. Morning. Thank you, Dr. Fredcraft. I thought that was a great presentation also. Mayor Adams, we're not really at the point of selecting local participants yet. We are crafting RFPs for engineering services for the first phase of this. And so we will be going out to bid. We also are actively looking for minority participants. The second part of your question is both Derek and myself and other staff put together sort of a board of funding opportunities. Obviously, we're going to be pursuing grants and low interest loans through GFA. We will leverage SLOST. You are correct. A significant amount of SLOST has been set aside for the purpose of infrastructure, back beyond the current SLOST. So we do believe we have a funding mechanism. It's a little bit of this and a little bit of that. That would be able to allow us to address the permit requirements in 2025.
Thank you. Ms. Battle, any questions for Dr. Threadcraft?
No, great presentation, Doctor, and thank you, City Manager Subban, for that update on the funding. No questions.
Mr. Deal.
Dr. Threadcraft, excellent presentation. Unlike Dr. Adams, I will not be pursuing an engineering degree. My question for you is, I think that I picked up that the date of compliance is 6/30 of 2025. Does that mean we have roughly 4 years to complete this project, or just to start it and have it in process?
We have to meet permit compliance, and there are a number of milestones, progressive milestones, that are used to measure the city's progress, and that allows open dialogue between the city and Georgia EPD. I've noted that the city staff are very familiar with the process and actively engaged with communicating with EPD, such that if they were to run into any type of delays, that would be an opportunity to see what type of corrective action will be needed. The primary purpose of progressive monitoring is to make corrective actions as early in the process as possible, because that's the best opportunity to ensure success.
Very good, thank you. That's all, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Deal. Mr. Logue?
Yes, Dr. Threadcraft, thank you again. That was an informative and very good presentation. I learned a lot. Also scares me about how much I don't know. First of all, I want to thank city staff for their effort and their proposals saving us the $30 million. I think that that's certainly worthwhile noting. The other is, I noticed that you said we only meet partial, our objective was to have a comprehensive solution. It sounds to me that with the CSO separation, that we're putting all of our eggs in one basket, if you will. And you also mentioned that having a more comprehensive approach and looking at alternatives, it's best to get in and look at those alternatives on the front end during the planning process, realizing we have such a short time frame within which to work. How long is the planning process going to take?
That's an excellent question. In this regard, city staff has some existing projects And some of the projects, for example, like 8th Avenue and 3rd Avenue, are constrained within a developed area. The opportunity for planning in that phase is not efficient. When you move to basins such as lift station 27 and lift station 25, those basins are going to require a longer time frame to complete. And from my perspective, those basins would offer an opportunity to evaluate other cost-saving measures. You'll also notice that when you drive through South Albany, there has been some acquisition. There are some properties that were not redeveloped, so there are vacant lots. And with that regard, that's where you have the chance to say, okay, is this project amenable to green infrastructure, or is it amenable to some type of buyout where you actually remove homes and provide more space for the water to follow its natural path so that you don't have to pipe all of that water. And then beyond that, is there an opportunity for open channel flow? Sometimes with the topography of areas such as Albany, Albany has what is called karst topography, or lime sinks. So when you have lime sinks, that places some restrictions on the ability of what type of designs can be implemented. But in overall, to answer your question, there are opportunities for green infrastructure and value-added initiatives.
Okay, and so you kind of simplifying or trying to come up with an analogy, it's for those areas where we do more of a design build approach, if you will, where we kind of, as we are moving forward with other aspects of the project, and in order to meet compliance with the permits, we're actually still looking at design alternatives and what else we might do to improve our prospects of meeting compliance by June of 2025. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. What risk do you see in us being able to meet that compliance deadline?
I feel that it is a tight schedule, but it's doable. One of the ways to achieve that is to develop a comprehensive chart of the projects that need to be accomplished. What is the projected start date for the design of those services? What's the projected start date to advertise construction and to complete construction? And that should be done comprehensively. In addition to doing that, you should link that to the percent capture rate, because the percent capture rate is what drives permit compliance. And based upon the need to meet the percent capture rate, that helps the engineering department determine where the priorities are. So what initiatives should be done now? What initiatives should be done later? And so from that perspective, to answer your question, strategic planning and monitoring of the process. There should be someone that's looking at that aspect of the project for the duration of it, and not just doing it from time to time, but actually making that their priority.
Understand. Thank you. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Dr. Threadcraft, now, you have reviewed Constantine's plan, and then as an alternative, the city staff has submitted proposals, which the first 10 years, it would reduce the cost of this project from 135 to 105, roughly. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. I was looking through this report. I didn't get all the way through it, but I will get over it this weekend. It is interesting. It says in 91, the city spent $40 million and separated 40% of the combined sewers. I know $91 is a lot different than $2021, but what was the scope of that work in 91? Was it just separating the combined system in locations?
The percentage of separation is linked to economy of scale.
Yes,
so
sir.
there would be some initiatives that can be accomplished at reduced cost, but they will have a more significant impact on the outcome. And that's what I was alluding to when I was referring to the opportunity to develop a schedule and also to determine the capture rate based on the completion of some projects. As you move to areas that are spread out, it's going to require more piping. Piping is expensive. That tends to drive up costs, so you don't have a significant return on an investment for the dollars that you spend. But if you move to more highly congested areas, one may have the opportunity to make a meaningful impact for less dollars spent. So without having the actual drawings of what took place at 90, that would be my general response. I would assume that the designers, those engineers at that time, which are great engineers, look for opportunities to make the most meaningful impact for the dollars that were spent on behalf of the state of Albany.
Okay. Well, you talked about developed areas. Obviously, the density of population to be higher there. I would have thought that separation would have been more expensive in those areas, but I guess what you're telling us now is because of the density of population, you're getting more bang for your buck when you work in neighborhoods.
Well, I wasn't trying to imply that it would not be expensive. I was more speaking on in terms of some type of return on investment.
Yes, sir. No, I obviously everything we're talking about here is expensive, but okay. So and another thing I picked up, much of the cost of the entire project, the $315 million in years 11 through 30, would be maintenance and upgrades. Is that correct?
Yes, maintenance is an ongoing requirement.
Okay, but so in this,
I'm sorry to cut you off. There would be some separation that will continue to take place, but the permit requires 85% of the separation to occur within 5 years.
okay.
So the 15% can be spread over a different period of time, and it's unknown what the second permit will contain. Will the second permit be more aggressive and require that 15% in the additional 5 years, or will they make some other decision? And as you recall in the presentation, what the federal and state agencies do is they manage water quality through the permitting process. So if there's a significant improvement in the water quality of the receiving waters, they may not be as aggressive on requiring that 15% all at once. Or if the water quality is still impaired, they may be more aggressive. And see, that's what's really driving the 85%. That's what's really driving the change from capturing up to 0.19 inches per hour to now being required to capture 85%. It's related to water quality.
Did Constantine's report, would that, if their recommendations had been implemented, would you have had 100% capture rate within 5 years?
No.
No. Okay.
And as you notice, and this is the reason I say that, one of the recommendations contained in the Constantine engineering report was to build a new facility. The purpose of that new facility was to capture the flow from lift stations 25 and 27 and direct it to the facility so that they can complete just the primary treatment. One of the slides showed bar screens and a chlorine contact basin. That's the minimum treatment necessary to discharge combined sewer to a receiving body. And so in essence, they're treating the water, they're meeting the requirement, but it's not to the standard of what is occurring when it flows through the wastewater treatment facility. So that was a way to quickly comply and ensure that there is some treatment to the combined sewer overflow before it's discharged to the receiving waters, and in this case, the Flint River.
Was that the 3.33 million?
The 3.33 million was a planned expansion. The roughly 31.4 million was to build a new facility.
Okay. We talked about the localized flooding, and my understanding, you can either reduce it by complete separation, or alternatives would be offline retention, and that's increasing the number of holding ponds or increasing the capacity of existing holding ponds, and or. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, and then you talked.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You also talked about open channels. That would be moving only stormwater.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and that's another option that would be less expensive than the complete separation.
Well, open channel will be a way to move water economically, stormwater, but the separation will still have to take place. So once the separation takes place, you have to transport the you have to transport the sewer. That sewer is transported directly to the treatment plant for treatment before discharging to the river. Now you have to deal with the stormwater. The opportunity to deal with stormwater can be through a closed conduit such as a pipe or a box cover, or it could be conveyed through an open channel. The open channel will be a more cost-effective way to convey the stormwater once it's separated from the sanitary sewer.
I guess, Mr. Threadcraft, Dr. Threadcraft, my understanding though, if you had these open channels, what you're doing, I mean, the objective, as I understand it, would be to get the water to what you call the offline retention, as opposed to the system where it would eventually either go into the river or the treatment plant. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Very informative report, and like I say, it's I understand. Well, I think I understand. Maybe I don't. Much more than I did before. But with that, did anybody else have any questions or comments? Dr. Adams?
You know, for the life of this city, I think this is a must-do type thing, and I think that we will be derelict of our duty if at this point in history that we don't commit to correcting this problem. And my other comment would be that on the other side of the possible penalties, what we would possibly be looking at if we don't do this. So I'm all in as far as proceeding with this project.
Ms. Battle?
No further question or comments. Nothing.
Mr. Deal?
No more questions.
Mr. Loeb?
Just one observation, and I agree with Dr. Adams. This is something that's critical for our community's future. It's something that we cannot neglect. We must continue. And just to let you know, I think that technology and the alternatives that we're being offered today are going to give us lots more bang for our buck than was even achieved in '91. If you look at what happened in '91, in today's dollars, you're looking at roughly $80 million. So it took them that amount just for a 40% reduction or capture rate, and we're looking at 85%. So I think for us to be able to spend roughly $100 million to meet the requirements of the permits at 85% capture rate is quite a testament to the work that's been done here, to the difference in technologies and what we'll use, and hopefully it will. It also points to the fact that there perhaps will be more alternatives, more technology advancement to help us in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Logue. I would just say that you know, this permitting process. When I was on the commission before, if the state would let us keep doing what we were doing, we just did it. And I think at some point in time, the state and federal regulatory agencies are insisting that municipalities now comply. Dr. Threadcraft said early on that cities have to have separate systems. So basically, we've been skirting the law since the early 90s based on these 5-year permits to continue what we're doing. I would say that we've had a presentation from staff as to how we could sort of collect funds from different sources to fund this, these projects, and it is numerous projects as opposed to my first understanding is $315 million. I thought it was talking about just pulling the pipes out and putting two pipes, separate pipes in the place. I have a presentation when I speak at before civic clubs or church groups, sort of explaining what a combined system is and why we need to do this. But I have heard from, we affect people in Mitchell County and all the way down to the state line when we have these heavy rainfall events and the amount of discharge into the Flint River. So appreciate everybody's questions. Dr. Threadcraft, I guess we'll be seeing you in front of the City Commission sometime in the next few weeks. But we all appreciate the report. Thank you. Okay. The next item is status on customer services. And Mr. Carter, is that you?
Yes, sir. It's me again.
Okay.
Well, first of all, I think everybody understands that the drive-thru has been closed for quite some time due to a COVID outbreak within that group. Fortunately, everybody seems to be faring well with that process, and we hope that that will continue and our staff will remain healthy. As a result of that, though, we started thinking about some things that we needed to do to see if we could, kind of help our customers through this process. One of the biggest problems that it appears, anecdotally anyway, that our customers have participating in some of the other processes that we built is that a lot of them don't know what their account number is. Yes, we mail out invoices each month to all of our customers, but for some reason, it appears that they have a hard time keeping up with those invoices or just knowing what their account number is. So when they try to go to other places or even go online or use our phone IVR system to pay their bills or inquire about what their payment status is, it requires them to use an account number to access those services. So as a result of that, we've introduced a new item, and I'd like to share my screen with you to give you an idea of what it looks like. This is our website homepage. I'm going to talk about 3 items today, and all 3 of those items can be accessed through our website homepage. One thing I'd like to say about that before I actually get started is all 3 of these are designed in what's called responsive process, meaning that it will recognize whichever device you're on, whether it's a phone, a tablet, or a PC, or laptop, and it will adjust itself to make best use of the real estate that's available to it. So if you're on a phone, it's going to look slightly different than if you're on a PC. But the first thing I'd like to talk to you about is this item here called the utility account lookup. If you go to our website and click on that link to this section here where you can look up your account number with just some basic information about yourself. You can look up commercial as well as residential accounts. I'm going to use residential because I'm a utility residential customer. You can use it, you can search by name, you can search by address, or you can search by the phone number that has been associated with that account. I start out by just searching by name. If you see I put my name there, and it's going to ask for your billing zip code also. So once you put that in and hit the search button, it will bring up your information and that customer account number and premise number are those things that you're going to need if you want to participate in any of those other services that we provide. When you dial into our IVR service and you want to pay by phone, it's going to inquire about a customer account number. That's how you access your account. You go to pay your bill at one of our alternative payment locations, you're going to have to provide that account number so that they know, who to attribute that payment to. If you want to use some of our current online services, that account number is going to be an important factor for you to use to determine who you are and get into that service. Again, that was by name. You can also look up by address. We would hope that most people know their address. So as we're looking at ways to do this, and one of the good things here is we have a drop down that will ensure that you use one of the addresses that we are aware of. And again, put that information in and search, it'll provide that same account number for you. If you, and I don't have a phone number associated with my account, but if you knew what your phone number was that was associated with your account, you can enter that in the billing zip code, and it will provide that account number for you. But the purpose of this, again, is just so individuals want to participate in some of these other payment or inquiry options that we have. We've been told that the biggest obstacle to that is most people don't know what their account number is. So we devised this as a means to help those people look up their account number. Any questions about that before I move on?
Dr. Adams?
No questions.
Mr. Battle? Mr. Deal?
All right.
Mr. Lowe?
No questions.
Okay.
All right. If there's no questions on that one, the next one I'd like to talk to you about is this know before you move option. This is a form that we've developed so that as our customers are looking to move from one property to another, they want to know, get an idea of what the utility cost is for the property that they're looking at. They can complete this form, and one of our customer service representatives will take that information and then reply with a 12-month history of what the utility cost was for that particular property. We're hoping that this will give individuals an idea before they move of what the utility cost will be, so that they won't be surprised after they move if that is a high utility consumption property. We're again hoping to have another effect, is that if our customers know that this is a high consumption property and will defer from moving in there, maybe those people that own those properties will do something to help the efficiencies of that property and bring down those utility costs, therefore making that a more attractive property. But all they have to do is come to this form. Again, all these things are available through the homepage of our website. Fill in this information about how can we contact them, where do they want to move, once they hit the submit button, it'll go to one of our customer service agents, and they will provide a 12-month history for that particular property. The final thing I'd like to talk about is the customer survey. We've been trying to put together a way to figure out where our deficiencies are, what can we do better to serve our customers, what are their sentiments toward our utility and the way we provide services. And this is a way for them to give us some feedback, let us know how we're doing, give us some hints on some things that we can do better. Let us know what we're doing well, so we can make sure that we enhance those and continue to do those things. But this is a survey again. It's accessible through the homepage of our website. That if you go to, it'll ask you a series of questions about what we are, what we do, how you contact us, what are the services that you have, how you feel about the services that we provided. And we're going to use this tool to evaluate our customer service, and then see what we can do in those areas where we find ourselves to be deficient, to bring those areas up, And in those areas that we're doing well, we want to make sure that we continue to do those or enhance those. Those are three areas that, as a result of where we are right now, we've come up with those three things. We also have some things in the future that we'll be bringing forward, but those are things that's available right now. And our PIO office have already made contact with their media outlets and make sure that our customers are aware of this. I've looked at some of the statistics for all of these, and they are already being used, especially the know before you move. There's probably about 20 requests already, and we've only had this available for a couple of days. There's already about 20 requests for information about properties that people intend to move into.
Stephen?
Yes, sir.
Being a physician, maybe I'm more acute to the litigious society we have. This know before you move thing, do we have any concerns about litigation in that area from maybe landlords or people who are property owners? Has that been run by Nathan or somebody who could just give us some reassurance that that's not going to be a problem?
Well, we're not providing anything that is not publicly available. We don't. There's no private information that's associated with that. All you're going to get is an address and the that the utility services were. We do not put any personal.
Okay. Okay. As long as you feel comfortable with it, I'm fine with it.
Absolutely, sir. Yes.
Does that conclude your presentation, Mr. Carter?
It does, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay. Any other questions, Dr. Adams?
None.
Ms. Battle?
None.
Mr. Deal?
None.
Mr. Lowe?
None.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. The next item is a presentation on the new telemetry system. Mr. Hughes, are you going to present? Yes, sir. Okay. And this monitoring is one of the things that Dr. Threadcraft was referring to, isn't it?
Yes, sir. It is part of the pattern monitoring system for a number of years. As you recall, the board and the commission approved some upgrades this past year. We did that done by the end of last year. This presentation just kind of gives y'all an update of what we have, some of the capabilities, just a brief overview.
Okay.
So, good, I'll go ahead.
You have the floor. Yes, sir.
Okay, first screen that comes up is basically a map of the city. Each of the dots there is a visitation. We've got 108, and then the county is also got 5 stormwater stations. The green dots show that everything is good. The flashing dots, flashing arrows, and the green dots show a pump is running at this particular time. We've got 2 stations. We've got several stations that are red. Got people working at those places. We've got a high wet well. Might be close to that. Get some alarms here in just a second. We've also got our new rain gauges that we purchased for our permit compliance are tied to this system. That's the Pentagon. So,
Excuse me, am I the only one having trouble understanding?
It could be a little louder, in my opinion, also, Dr. Adams.
I'm trying to speak up. Is that better?
That's
Yeah.
better.
Again, the flashing arrows show our pumps running. We got our rain gauges on here as well. They're actually solar rain gauges, so we're good in case the power goes out. Battery backup as well. I'll just show you a few of the features, and then we'll move on to the questions that there are.
Excuse me, Mr. Hughes. Did anybody have any questions about what Mr. Hughes has said so far? Do y'all want him to start over again?
No, I
just
heard enough.
I like to hear him better if possible.
Are you still having problems hearing Dr. Adams?
I hear you very well, but I don't hear him.
You want to trade places with me? Okay. Can you hear me better, Mr. Adams?
Oh yeah, that's a lot better.
I'm a little bit to the speaker now.
Great.
But let's see. Again, the different dots there show the different stations that are in town that are tied to the system. We have our rain gauges. They're also tied to the system, which are the pentagon-shaped things. Pump stations are hexagon shaped. The map is basically the starting place. There's a whole lot of information that's available, but by pulling up the map, you kind of see a snapshot of what's going on with the system. You can mouse over a different system, different dots, and see what's running, the status of different things. You can actually pull up. I'll pull up lift station 25. Which is one of our CSO stations, and you get a chart, a lot of information again on here. Down at the bottom, the dashes show you when pumps are running, and as you see earlier this morning, and you can actually go back further in time, but it shows how that we had pumps running almost continuously. They will continue to get the storm water out of the system, out of the CSO system, and the dashes have gotten shorter, so we've returned to a more normal situation where a pump runs for a few minutes and cuts off for several minutes and then cycles on and off to a normal situation. Let me close that out. One of the things that's an improvement over our old system is our alarm. And the way that's done, the new system, a log of every alarm that goes out. It tells us who it went to, who responded, the time frame over on the right-hand side, how long it took them to respond, acknowledge the alarm. Some of these alarms are with they're doing the preventive maintenance is going through and checking to make sure the alarms are functioning and we're getting the signal. One of the things this new system has as well is it has a chain of notifications. So if the first person does not acknowledge the alarm, after about 5 minutes, it moves to the next person until someone acknowledges the alarm, and it goes through the ESG managers from the field. It starts with the field personnel and then goes to the ESG managers until someone responds. So that's an improvement over our old system as well. Again, just to give you a brief view of our rain gauges. We've got 5 rain gauges that were installed as a result of permit compliance with the new permit that came out in October. This gives you a overview of each rain gauge and each time, and you can click on it and drill down and get further information on the 20. Rain in the last 48 hours. I'll tell you that.
Yes, you can do that. Actually, I'm not sure how to get it. The rain in the last 48 hours is underneath the other screen. So, it gives you
at each rain gauge what we had, and again, you can drill down and get hourly, and actually the rain gauge is measured every 15 minutes so we can get that information. So again, those are solar powered, so if the power goes off, we're still good. There's a lot of other information, as you can see on the left-hand side on the menu. You can drill down and get a lot of information. All the information will be available as long as we have this system. It's stored in a server off-site. So if we have the system for 20 years, we can go back and access information for 20 years as long as we have this service. And so again, there's a pile of information. I won't get into all of it's available, but are there any questions?
Dr. Adams, any questions?
No.
Adam, you said, Jeff.
No, none.
Mr. Deal?
No, I'm good.
Flo?
I'm good.
Thank you, Ms. Hughes. Thank you. Find out how much it runs in the last 4 months. I can pull it up. We can get through. I'll show you. All right. Thank you, Ms. Hughes. And the next item on the agenda is a presentation providing an update on the East Side, West Side Interceptor Rehabilitation Project. Mr. Maples, Mr. Stock, you with us, Mr. Maples?
I am. Good morning. How y'all doing? I appreciate the opportunity to present to this board. I don't get that opportunity too often, so I appreciate the opportunity. So this is a good news story. But everything that you've heard today has something to do with what I'm about to present. So when you talk about the ability for city staff to work with the utility board and the city commission, where we're given the opportunity to ask for funds, and when we're given the opportunity to receive funds, we get to do this good news story, which is on the Jeep Alone West Side, East Side Interceptor Sewer Rehabilitation Project. If I could, I'll digress a little bit and go back to my history. In 1978, I graduated from Albany High. I got fortunate to work for the City of Albany Engineering Department, and I worked on the sewer crew. One of the benefits of working on the sewer crew back then was they always liked to put us into the sewers. And we actually went into the sewers, and a lot of the sewer manholes that I went in back in 1978 and 79 was on the East Side, West Side Interceptor. So I have a lot of familiarity, unfortunately, with the East Side, West Side Interceptor. But, I came back and I worked after 94. The mayor mentioned the bond referendum back in the late 80s and 90s to do the separation. Jeff Hughes and I worked on that to make sure that that came in compliance with the EPD. 94, though, one of the things we asked for in 94, after the flood in 94, when everybody had some familiarity with the piping system and how the flood waters from the Flint River backed up through the pipe system and went to some low-lying areas, we asked for the some funding to put on the SPLOST referendum to make sure we improved and had some money available to take care of the infrastructure. I can tell you, Mayor, based on that time, that request we were denied because people said that it wouldn't pass because nobody knew or cared about anything that was underground. I think that's an erroneous statement, and that's being revealed right now with the concerns about our infrastructure. So in 2009, after I came back and was back a year, we made a presentation to Carlton Fletcher, and he asked us what one of our concerns was. There's a news article in the newspaper in the Albany Herald that city staff said that one of our biggest concerns was the maintenance and upgrade of our infrastructure, mainly the East Side, West Side Interceptor. Now I'll get to 2015, and well, I'll go to the presentation, then I'll get to a key date in 2015, and I'll go from there. So if you'll go to the next slide, please. As I said, the concern was the condition of the existing pipes and the manholes, and the concern was hydrogen sulfide. And if you know what hydrogen sulfide is in the sewer system, once it comes out of solution out of the wastewater, it reacts with oxygen, and it turns into sulfuric acid, and therefore it's a very corrosive solution. And most of the East Side, West Side Interceptor pipe is made out of concrete, and we also have a lot of problems with the age of the pipe, with root intrusion and scouring activity. So the extent of the work on the east side interceptor sewer began at Swift Street and goes all the way to lift station 26, which is at the north end of the Albany State University campus. The west side interceptor sewer rehabilitation project that we looked at was started at the 8th Avenue combination sewer outfall, and it runs southward all the way to the Joshua Street wastewater treatment plant. And if you know anything about the history of Albany, both of these trunk sewers were installed in the 58 and 59 time period. It was, if you understand anything about the city of Albany prior to 58 and 59, all the sewage went straight to the Flint River. There was no wastewater treatment plant, and there was no east side, west side interceptor. So next slide, please. That's an image showing you basically the layout of the east side, west side interceptors. If you look on the east side of the river, the red line that is shown there is basically the east side interceptor sewer. The west side, you see the orange is the west side interceptor. Just so you'll know, the black lines are force mains from various pump stations. And, next slide, please. The first phase of the project, well, this image right here is actually showing you what Gulf Coast Underground, the contractor that was doing the slip lining, that's just an example of what was taken out of the sewers. If you could imagine having something that in your sewer or in your the reduction of the flow that you got that was going down the pipe. So one of the great benefits of actually doing this project was we cleaned out a considerable amount of debris out of the interceptor sewers. Next slide, please. Again, another example of how much debris. Everybody noticed that it's a lot of plastic bottles, which is connected to our other problem that we have in the city, which is a lot of trash that's being dumped out into our streets and our right-of-ways that eventually gets flushed into the sewer system, combined sewer system. Next slide, please. So what we came up with when we had to look at this project, we came up with the original scope of work included Booker Avenue sewer basin, but EPD came up with some concerns about the historic properties downtown, so we had to remove it out. The first phase of the design, we basically did a design build project, and we went out with RFQs and we selected Gulf Coast Underground, and they came in with the design phase to do actually an investigation. They televised both interceptor lines, and they developed a set of plans and made recommendations and calls for the implementation of the solutions. That solution was to come in with a slip lining solution. The cost to go in and dig and replace was deemed to be way too expensive, and if you know, based on some of the Ohio River events, it would have been a major issue if we had not done the slip lining process and the epoxy coating of the manholes. So we had to proceed on, and we had with the loan, we had a December 2020 deadline to meet the requirements of the loan, and our contractor basically met that requirement in spite of the high water issues that we had and in spite of COVID-19 issues. Next slide, please. So going back, we advertised for RFQ for back in June of 2018. The Board of Commissioners approved the resolution on July 24th, and they authorized city staff to negotiate and execute a contract with Gulf Coast Underground for the design build contract. A notice to proceed for the design phase of the contract was issued September 10th, 2018. Again, we've already gone over that on the extents of the sewer. Next slide, please. Again, another picture of what they found when they televised the lines in the sewers. Next slide. Next slide. So here's where I was going to get to what happened in 2015. There was a fireball took place in 2015. City staff had presented this numerous times to other city managers, and we thought it was going to be the same song and dance. But in 2015, a certain individual showed up named Sharon Subadan, and that person asked us to tell her what our major concerns were about our infrastructure, and staff told her about the east side, west side interceptors. And you have to be careful what you say sometimes, because next thing we knew, we had JEPA personnel in here meeting with us about a JEPA loan. So on March 22nd, 2016, we had gone through a lot of discussions about the project and talked to them, and JEPA had said that they thought the project was very viable. And on March 22nd, 2016, excuse me, the Board of Commissioners authorized staff to pursue a loan for the project. On an application for $15 million for a low interest loan was submitted on February 27th, 2017. JEPA approved the City of Albany application for that $15 million loan on January 22nd at their board meeting. The City Commission accepted the JEPA loan by Resolution 18-R110 on February 13th, 2018. Part of the agreement was that we had to pay a loan origination fee of $150,000, which has been paid. The interest rate on the loan is 0.65% over a 15-year repayment period, and loan payments will become from accumulated SPLOS 6 and SPLOS 7 sewer improvement funds. And should future SPLOS not be approved, which we hope is not the case, the sewer enterprise fund will have the capacity to pay the debt service. Next slide. So as a result of this work, you know, one of our major concerns again was the condition of the pipe, and so we had 6.23 miles of pipe cleaned. That 6.23 miles was rehabilitated. According to GCU, they removed greater than 1,300 tons of debris. 122 manhole structures were lined or repaired. All that work eliminated infiltration in the existing system, which ultimately results in lower flow to the pump stations and lower flow to the wastewater treatment plant. That allows the east side and west side pipes to carry their capacity that were originally designed for. And as we stated earlier, had we gone with a conventional dig and replace method, we would have had to tear up a great deal of the banks of the river, and we would have had to tear up streets and other things, which would have increased the cost, and it could have been as much as twice the cost of slip lining. And that's the end of the presentation, and we'll be glad to answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Mr. Mopes. Any questions, Dr. Adams?
I don't. More of a concern. Is there any way that we can address the problems of plastics material getting into our system?
You know, that'd be a great thing. You know, we have the Keep Albany Darty Beautiful campaign that constantly stresses and puts out information trying to keep people to quit, you know, throwing trash out of their vehicles or securing it so that it's not in the back of a pickup truck and blows out and other things. But it seems to be just the inherent problem that we're dealing with. You know, it would be great if we could make that happen, Dr. Adams. I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Does anyone know of any other municipalities who are addressing this problem of plastic material being discarded into the sewage system?
I think it's an ongoing battle for every city.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Battle?
Nothing.
Mr. Deal?
Bruce, I did want to tell you that you have our sympathy in regard to the death of your father. I saw that in the paper, and I haven't had a chance to talk with you. But our thoughts and prayers are with you also. And no other questions.
Thank you, sir. Those are all thoughts and prayers are always appreciated. Thank you so much.
Hello.
Stan, you're muted.
Thanks, Jim. You know, Bruce, I was just saying that, like Jim, I'm very sorry to hear about your father. But thank you for the update on the project. Something we desperately needed, and appreciate all of you working together to solve the problem and find reasonable solutions for us.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm part of the city. I've lived here 60 years, so I've got a vested interest in making sure the city continues to function. So,
Keep up the good work.
thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Maples. One thing, Dr. Adams' comment, I think there's a proposal, and it's probably going to be implemented in the next year or two throughout the European Union to basically ban single-use plastics. And that's a pretty dramatic option, but I think that's the only thing that's going to stop it. It's not just a problem in our sewer system in our city, but it's a problem for the planet. But with that, nothing further on the agenda. Any items for future agendas or any other matters? Dr. Adams?
None.
Ms. Battle?
Brenda, you're muted too.
Okay. Mr. Deal?
No,
Sorry.
nothing.
Mr. Lowe?
Yes, I wanted to, as far as other matters go, I know that at our last meeting in December, we talked about solar project and working with Walmart. We talked about sale of some excess capacity to the city of Lawrenceville. It's my understanding that the city of Lawrenceville ran out of time with us, and so they solved their problem going with other sister cities. But I was curious, I saw some communication where some of our concerns on the Walmart documents were addressed, and I was curious if Nathan was satisfied with the changes that were made.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, sir. They passed muster with our office. Thank you.
Okay, with that being the case, I was curious what the board's position is with regards to Walmart working with our customer and in effect, at least getting our toe stuck in the water with respect to solar power.
That's a good point, Stan. Are you making a motion that we accept that agreement?
Basically, yes. I think that I've thought through. I think that this would give us an opportunity to say that yes, we have a customer that we're helping with a solar project, albeit in a very small fashion. But it does add solar to our portfolio.
I think what we need to do is just put it on the agenda for the next meeting as opposed to voting on it now. It's not on the agenda, but what I believe would be the proper item, Ms. Subadan, is to have a motion, bring that presentation back, and we vote on it. Because I believe it was tabled before, and is that agreeable, Ms. Logue?
That's fine with me. I just don't want us, it seems like we keep kicking the can down the road, and I want us to take some action on some of these items.
Okay, that's fair enough.
And I think too, Mr. Mayor, next meeting, we should also maybe address some type of policy or give it some thought about selling some of our excess power when we're asked to.
Oh, okay. Can we put that on the agenda, Ms. Subadan?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I just have a question for clarification. I understand that our sister city went with their request. They changed and went with some other city. Is that correct? And if so,
yes.
Are we? I hope we did not create any bad feelings.
Well, I hope not too, Dr. Adams. But that's my understanding is that they were pressed. They needed the reserve capacity, and they went with either one or two other sister cities.
Okay.
Okay, there being no further business come before the board, this meeting will stand adjourned. Thank you for your attendance and your participation.